Many a long year ago now, on this city's former site, though abundant grass grew freely, by no bindies were it light. No punchbowl, Gowsey, nor Coogee, Engadine, nor Sanssouci, nor Yagoona yet existed, where one day Sydney would be.
Oh, I think I'm going to be sick. Where are we?
Bugger if I know.
What do you mean, buggered if I know? First thing we're driving in your Uber down New South Head Road.
To the Wanker Inner City's history college.
Wanker. Look, just one question there, Kira. Yap says your name is. Is it Kira?
Yes, it is Billy, if that is your real name.
Kira.
Billy.
Kira.
Billy, what's your question?
What are we doing out here in the bush? I don't recognise anything.
I wouldn't be so sure about that. What do you reckon about that sandstone outcrop over there?
Oh yeah. Kind of looks like South Head.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
But if that's South Head, where's the water?
I know. Of course.
You want to share with the rest of the Trocadero?
Keep up, everyone. Well, you know when I put my car in reverse, I think I must have hit the time button. These new cars have everything. I should probably read the manual.
Are you suggesting that we've gone back in time?
Yeah, it looks like 10,000 years to the end of the last ice age.
It's a Hyundai, not a DeLorean.
I guess that's why they call it a fastback.
Well, only if they drive like you revhead.
Yeah.
Hang on. How does that explain why Sydney Harbour's dry?
Well, 10,000 years ago, the sea level was way lower. So this is Sydney back then.
This isn't Sydney.
We're standing here overlooking Port Jackson, where Port Jackson sharks and Manly ferries will one day be cruising around. You can't get much more Sydney than that, mate.
No, but it isn't Sydney.
It has to be.
No, it isn't Sydney. Yes.
He's such a pedantic dickhead.
It's an important difference. People have been living here for at least 48,000 years. In relative terms, Sydney popped up 5 minutes ago.
As recently as, say, WestConnex.
Yeah, and it would have been just about as welcome as far as the locals were concerned.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, all the water that was in the harbour and all that was in the Parramatta River, which is just a tiny creek over there now, is way out that way.
So everywhere is further from the beach.
Yeah. Everywhere is further from the beach.
At DY the surf is well and truly out of reach.
No ocean view from Barrenjoey.
Can't ride a gnarly swell of Manly.
Bilbolas, the old Marara.
Mona Vale's the old Waitara.
Collaroy's the old Kalara.
Matraville's the old Miranda. Yes, everywhere is further from the beach.
Everywhere is further from the beach.
Suburbia has undergone a monumental switch.
Manly is the old North Sydney.
South Sydney's the old Canterbury.
Parramatta's the old Penrith.
Man, that would really mess with the NRL teams.
It's funny you should say that, because I have a theory that rugby league was invented by the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation.
That is such a bogan idea. That's not a theory, it's revisionist history.
And I would expect that from a latte-sipping snob like you.
Hey.
I know it sounds unlikely,
Yeah.
but consider the tantalising bits of evidence.
What?
There are some that say that Australian rules football was based on an Indigenous game, Marngrook.
So what? That's completely irrelevant.
But Sydney is the spiritual heartland of rugby league.
Queensland would argue with that.
Who cares about Queensland? I mean, that's it, you know it. And anyway, rugby league, it's harsh, it's brash, it's in your face, and sometimes it's absolutely brutal, and it's quite a lot like Sydney.
I'll take your hand off it.
Well, how do you explain the strong links between rugby league and the Indigenous community?
That's a recent thing. Look, even if I believed your theory, it which I don't, where would you have found a park with sufficient grass, cleared of trees, to play a game of rugby league prior to 1788?
Stand aside, little man. I've got words from the very time. Between Sydney Cove and Botany Bay, we met with in many parts of fine black soil, luxuriantly covered with grass, and the trees had 30 or 40 yards distance from each other. There is a velvet harbour referring to Toongabbie, which we distinguish by the name of Greenland, on account of the fine grass and there being few trees like an English park. From Manly to Pinwater, many hundreds of acres of land free from timber and very fit for cultivation without waiting for its being. Clear wood for the trees, stand very wide of each other, and have the underwood. In short, the woods on the spot that we are speaking of resemble a deer park as much as if they had been intended for such a purpose.
Okay. You made your point. There was plenty of grassy parkland around here prior to 1788.
Thank you. Despite your smug assertion that I'm a brainless bogan, I actually know my stuff.
But of course, rugby league wasn't an Indigenous game. For the first 50 years of the Sydney competition, there were hardly any Indigenous players at all. They were segregated from the game and from Sydney society.
It's a bit of a shit, that. Anyway, we've got to get going. Let's get in my convenient for plot development time travel device.
This Arcadian plantation, rich in fern and wallaby, all will come to transmutation, ne'er again the same to be. There's a cold, cold change arriving with a massive southerly. There's a cold, cold change arriving of the likes we've never seen. 11 vessels up the south coast, full of poxy men and cows, sails a billow with the southerly. There's no use complaining now. There's a cold, cold change arriving with a massive southerly. There's a cold, cold change arriving of the likes we've never seen.
When are we now?
Looks like 27th of January, 1788.
Huh. The first fleet will just now be arriving at what will be called Sydney Cove.
And Phillip doesn't look particularly concerned about it.
Well, that over there. Oh. No, don't look. Don't. Shit, no. Well, the male and the female convicts, they're, commingling.
No, they're rude and you don't.
If I can just butt in here for a minute, modern historians now dispute whether this so-called orgy when the first fleet arrived actually happened.
Right.
Look over there, there's Captain Phillip.
Looks a bit preoccupied. Probably trying to figure out what he's going to call the place. Arthur Phillip named this city, honouring an English baron who appointed him as governor as a method to repay him, a transaction still in practice right up to this day. Arthur Phillip named this city, honouring an English baron, but his name is a corruption of the virtuous Saint Denny, once a bishop of Old Parry. That's until he misplaced his head when he was decapitated. It might therefore be more fitting to rename this city Holy Headless Dennis Town. Metropolitan and sprawling, cosmopolitan in makeup, multicoloured even more than Neapolitan, the ice cream, in a basin where the melting pot's been left to soak. It's a place chock full of icons, many are found in the kitchen. People call it steak and kidney, comes to mind whenever I see a coat hanger next to bowls put in a dish rack left to dry. So please tell me, where else can you take a cab to Cabarita, eat a hen and chicken bagel, then high-five a duck in 5 dock around 5 o'clock? Please tell me, where else can you bust a Burwood with your baby, take a punt at the TAB, take another punt to Putney, ride to Ryde and Rydalmere too. It doesn't matter, you're in Greater Sydney town.
Are you telling me that Sydney's named after a beheaded Parisian bishop?
It's true. The English named their Emerald City after a Frenchman and a Catholic.
I find that hard to believe.
It's true. St. Denny is one of the most famous cephalophores of Christian legend. Cephalophore means head carrier.
You condescending arsehole.
The story goes that he picked up his head and walked several miles, preaching a sermon on repentance.
Fascinating. Anyway, we've got about 250 years to make up. Let's get back in this car here.
They'll stone you when you're working in the quarry. They'll stone you and won't even say they're sorry. They'll stone you at the yard or in the rocks. And they'll stone you in a manly ferry docks. But I would not feel so all alone. Everybody must get stoned.
Well, here we are, 1855, in a quarry at Piermont.
Bloody sandstone everywhere.
This beautiful stone, known as yellow block, was used to construct early Sydney.
Make it sound like they were making jewellery, mate. This is hard work.
But the stonework was exquisite.
And this stonework that was made so exquisitely was made by convict unionists. They negotiated for the first 8-hour working day way back in 1855.
Why not?
Take a stroll down George Street, you Philistine bastards. Laugh at the towel and be flabbergasted. How those
Muslims transported for sedition or for forging, transform the yellow block into
something royally Georgian.
The stuff was known as yellow gold beyond Hawkesbury sandstone. It's up on the escarpment, forming the lip of the basin, deposited in the Triassic when the creatures were colossal. But what is its lithology? Sedimentary, my dear fossil.
Take a stroll down George Street, you Philistine bastards. You'll laugh at the QB and be flabbergasted. How those
miscreants transported for sedition or for forging, transform the yellow block into
something royally Georgian. The convicts hewed this yellow gold at the Piermont quarry. They were skilled and organised, but they had to worry about inhaling gave them doses of bronchitis or maybe a form of silicosis. Take a stroll around Hyde Park, you Philistine bastards. Look up at the museum and be flabbergasted.
How they mobilise, transported for sedition north of forging, transform the yellow block into
something royally Georgian.
It is the bedrock upon which this whole town is based, a symbol of extravagant, sophisticated taste, so much more stately than brick, that is without a doubt. So when you're told that Sydney rocks, you'll know what they're on about.
Take a stroll down Clyde Street, you Philistine bastards. Look up at the Union Club and be appalled because the bastards have knocked the place down. It's a bloody disgrace. Shame.
And they also knocked down the awesome Australia Hotel in Martin Place.
It's made of sandstone, mate. Stick to the topic.
I don't care. Sarah Bernhardt performed there at the opening.
Who even is Sarah Bernhardt? Excuse me? I'm talking to you later. Anyway, there was a gold rush out of Bathurst and Hilland around this time.
Oh, well, I'm quite partial to some Cartier gold jewellery.
Of course you are, you bloody metrosexual.
Your idea of stylish is a flanny with gold embroidery.
And what's wrong with it? Anyway, the gold rush didn't clear out Sydney like it did Melbourne, and this is down to topography. The Blue Mountains, specifically.
Despite that, New South Wales had all of the ingredients of a classic gold rush.
Yep, class struggles, xenophobia, rioting, and poverty.
It was 1851 in Bathurst town. Hargrave digs a hole and he looks down. There is gold in that there creek bed, and although they plead with him to commit to non-disclosure, you can bet those agreements haven't been established yet. It's the promise of a fortune, the lure of a cheap buck. High returns on your investment, backlots and chance a lot. And progressed and primal savages, decorum's thrown away. See them in the stock exchange, still added to this day. As we travel out from Sydney on the way to the central tablelands, there is a range. They don't call it Great Dividing for nothing. You might think that you can train it there, but don't forget the rail line hasn't been constructed yet. As we travel along the Great Western Road,
Yeah!
down the perilous Victoria Pass we go. In a horse-drawn carriage, it takes about 5 days in total to get there, but don't forget the motor car hasn't been invented yet. It's the promise of a fortune, the lure of a cheap buck. High returns on your investment, backlots and chance a lot. Men regress to primal savages, decorum's thrown away. See them in the stock exchange, still added to this day. It's now 1862 at Mill End, and the Anglos aren't too keen on Chinamen.
Racist bastards.
Who worked harder and worked leaner, so they go and start a riot over white Australian values. Don't forget that policy hadn't been adopted yet. It's now 1872 and Holterman finds a 3,000-ounce nugget at Hill End. We all go berserk and head there, digging frantically we find that it isn't that much fun there. Don't forget, cure for chronic alcoholism probably hasn't been invented yet. It's the promise of a fortune, the lure of a cheap buck. High returns on your investment, backlog odds and chance your luck. Then regress to primal savages, decorum's thrown away. See them in the stock exchange, still added to this day. And although there's no pickaxes now, there's no time to relax, cause instead of seeking sacks of gold, they're dealing Goldman Sachs.
All right, as far as this has been, we've got to get out of here.
Such destitution, oh my Lord, I've never seen before. Thousands of rodents climb the walls, plaguing the wretched poor. Feculence pervades each square inch of this disaster zone. Small wonder vermin round the world here choose to make their home. An overwhelming pungent stench makes one afraid to breathe. Multiple rotting corpses fill this pestilential scene. This place is a dump.
This is the rock. Yeah, convicts got off squalid ships, built inadequate housing and lived in squalor.
Planning never was Sydney's strong suit.
Yeah, Sydney had world-class poverty back in the 19th century.
Sydney always punches above her weight.
Did you know that in 1900 actually, Sydney had the bubonic plague?
Really?
Yeah, like 100 people died and they knocked down a bunch of housing as a result.
Oh, you got to admit that was a blessing in disguise.
Oh, I don't know, how do you make that?
Oh, it was the start of the gentrification of Sydney.
Yeah, Chardonnay sipping snob.
Can we get out of here?
Yeah, it's a bit stinky.
People play such foolish games. People play such foolish games. People play. People play such foolish games. With a quick stop in the year 2000, because we couldn't do a show about Sydney without mentioning what Juan Antonio Samaranch called the best Olympic Games ever!
So you've mentioned it, now let's go.
So much for Olympic Games. So much for Olympic Games. So much for. So much for Olympic Games. We're home! Oh, Wi-Fi! Oh, would you look at that harbour? Spectacular views to die for.
Access restricted to the rich, Billy. Did Captain Phillip, when he passed Point Piper, when he first set eyes on this natural harbour, see unprecedented investor potential with massive returns for those with freehold title, and say damn and bugger with topography. If I can't build on it, the land here is worth jack to me. Point Piper palaces and Seaforth fortresses, Castle Crag castles and Double Bay duplexes, Hunters Hill havens, massive Mossman's mansions, Cockatoo Islander condominiums. This landscape is not the thing we're here to see. When will you realise the structures of the scenery? Real estate with harbour views is sold as heaven on earth, while we overall wonder how much must sweet. Lets me take in the views while I'm taking a dump. Offer anything less, and I'll tell you go jump. From Cremorne Point I'll see Ciaran the lead, and I'll strain at the Prime Minister as he stares back at me. Hey, Albo. Real estate with harbour views is sold as heaven on earth, while we overall wonder how much must that place be worth. Had love perused their waterways rather than dropping anchor in Botany Bay. Had he found a nice spot to construct his chalet and then settling in, undeciding to stay. After he'd weighed up the pros and the cons, he would not have founded them frigates in the Solomons.
You got to admit that it is a magnificent harbour.
Yeah, with access restricted for fat cats with boats, Billy.
Still, I think more than a few sailors would prefer to remain here rather than venture out into the high seas of the Tasman.
There we go.
Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be.
Adventures through the heads into the high, high seas is beyond our endeavours.
Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be.
The weather's tomardly, the swell is immense. What would be the door's point?
Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be.
In this swell I can't keep a damn morsel down. It's like I've got a pinched gut.
Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be.
The young seasick boatswain is lavender bay, or some colour in between.
Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be.
But none of his shipmates possesses an iron Cove constitution.
Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be.
But sir, you're clever to the service bay and put it into neutral.
Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be. The Shire is a war nor a bridge too far, we're all well aware of that. Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be.
Yowie, the ships hold us to broken bays. It's gonna matter someday.
Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be.
The secret to your darling harbour is unlocked with the circular key.
Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be.
The captain with one leg claims he lost it when he fought denizens of the deep.
Hoist up the mainsail, farewell the sea, the harbour's where the treasure be. Arr. That was great. Do you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking first stop, National Folk Festival. Second stop, Redfern Shanty Club.
It's not really my scene, mate.
Well, you've at least got to admit that this city has something for everybody.
I just keep thinking you're putting a really positive spin on things. Because if Sydney were anthropomorphised, she'd be a middle-aged woman, say in her 50s, and she'd have multiple health problems. She's overweight, she's got her blood pressure's up, she's got ugly growths all over her skin, and she's hanging out with this bad crowd.
Boy,
All right.
This sparkling city displayed symptoms of sluggishness, feeling run down. Big city malady, constructed corridor. So the RMS prescribed an invasive procedure deep underground, which they administered. West Connect's enemas, taken its toll, it's the price you pay. Poorly built, gaudy constructions are popping up all over town, feature enhanced Botox, bare-faced apartment blocks for hapless tenants to occupy, who when cracks appear have to evacuate, fearing it's gonna fall down. Run to their foundations, these accommodations need more than cosmetic surgery. Some of her nearest acquaintances are lining up all around. Though inhalation's passive, health effects are massive. It's not just her lungs that are suffering, as her bright floral somewhere to hang out skirts are being burned to a dark shade of brown. Taking our smoker's life, so much for quit for life, bad habits in a wrong habitat. There's so much about Sydney I just can't stand.
Well, you just want to point out the bad bits. Like this. Russell, give me a beat. The traffic is horrible. The tolls, highway robbery. The North Shore's flushed with snobbery. The air's toxic, the river's dioxic, the legislators are dropkicks. Viruses are resistant, cockroaches persistent, sharks not that distant, town planning non-existent. The suburbs sprawl, the Westies drawl, the shock jocks score, footballers appall, and the NRL does bugger all.
Hey!
Nice place to visit, says it all. Public transport sucks, felons run amok from John MacArthur on. It's been a steady stream of shysters, thugs and racketeers. John MacArthur, John MacArthur, John MacArthur, John MacArthur, and the rum corps took down the governor. John MacArthur don't float my boat, but they stuck his mug on the $2 note. John MacArthur shot an officer, owned half the colony. You follow me? It continues all the way through to that Dame Nielsen, Juanita. I'd like to meet her, but she disappeared. We hold grave fears that a man of spice, Saffron Abe, who ain't no babe, hired her assassin and some dodgy cops. Was the state involved? Well, who's asking? Whoa! Who ran the play? Whoa! And for those who say it ain't that shitty anymore, the city's clean these days, I say to you one word: Barangaroo. What do you think?
Look, I hate rap.
Well, if you hate rap and you hate this city, why don't you just bugger off then?
Oh. Sydney's a cesspool of humanity where I can hide.
What are you running from?
It's a very interesting story.
Does it go something like this? It was late in the month of October, at a mine site out at Cove. The cicadas were just about to let rip. She was driving a front-end loader when she ran somebody over. She thought the better of informing her on-site supervisor of her slip. She completed the site induction, followed the work instruction. She didn't quite know what she had done wrong. She had mastered the driving basics, had scored low on her risk matrix. The hazard of collision with a pedestrian who happened to come along. Knowing she stood out like a loner in her high-vis and her loader, she ditched the fluoro and the big machine. She hot-wired the company ute, hit the pedal with her work boots, and although she hadn't showered, she was hoping that her getaway was clean. She drove eastward through Dunedin, took a left and onto Warren. She liked the Oxley Highway and its vibe. From there she sped on to Gilgandra, down the Causeway to Merriwa, flying along part of the world's largest virtual solar system drive. Took a sharp left at the New England, hardly slowing down at Singleton, right in the Golden Highway thoroughfare. She pressed on to Murrurundi, a name which means 5 fingers, in the language of the Wanneroo people who once congregated there. Not knowing if it's minutes or hours, she preceded her pursuers. She undertook to throw them off the scent. The Chaffee Dam up to Nundle, she traversed in an empty canoe, and on an unlocked bicycle to the country music capital she went. But now with her escape and her killing, is she heroine or villain? I'll leave it to your judgment to decide. No, back to the Peel River, where the big hats keep getting bigger. She found that no one could suspect a manslaughterer amidst the set of such wholesome Tammy-ness. So there she could most confidently hide. That is a real interesting story, but it finishes in Tamworth. How did you end up in Sydney?
All right. Well, apparently I look quite a lot like Tammy Wynette. Go figure. And if I'd stayed in Tamworth much longer, people just kept confusing me with her. So I fled to Sydney, where there's a way lower concentration of country music fans.
The story's just bulletproof.
How did you end up here?
Me? Oh, well, I've been all over the world, but Sydney, despite all of her problems, just keeps calling me home.
Strangely enough, I think I kind of know how this one goes. When you land at Mascot at 6 a.m, the taxi rank is still empty. This plane is a thundering wake-up call for the good people of Tempe. He takes a taxi to Coogee Beach and fixes his gaze on the ocean. Drinks 4 double-shot espressos as jet-lag medication. Attending the full-body massage rooms just up from Bondi Junction. Serves as the application of his own self-prescribed unction.
Panorama 2026, Malabar 2036, Maroubra 2035.
The football stadium hole in the ground where he seeks out entertainment has as this insurance mob's name till next week, when they'll call it something different. He had hoped to see a few big buffy blokes give each other a cuddle under the guise of brutality in some overhyped struggle. And then he strides down Oxford Street, which seems to be a different jurisdiction, where you can strut in your sequin suit, if that's your predilection.
Surrey Hills 2010, Paddington 2021, Woolloomooloo 2011.
He wagers a bid at the Crown Casino. He walks home counting his losses, rides the crowded rail to roads and goes looking for the Colossus, which alas he does not find, but he finds himself in IKEA, another bewildering monolith. I guess that's the general idea. Rhodes is a high-rise metropolis, so clean it's hard to imagine. It's where Union Carbide formerly manufactured Agent Orange.
Rhodes 2138, 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 Rhodes.
Having harbored a hankering to ride on a bike on an icon, he pedals to the middle of that famous bridge and looks toward the horizon. Yes, in part she is exquisite as the paradise of Milton, but with some propulsive tendencies, a bit like Paris Hilton. Yes, she's loud and brash and impersonal, but beautiful. It's a pity that he can't bring himself to think of her. It's just another big city. Look, I can kind of get where you're coming from with this, but the more I hear from you, the more I realise we are total polar opposites.
Yeah. It's a wonder we haven't clawed one another's eyes out already.
Maybe it's best we spend more time with each other.
Oh. Yeah. I completely agree, so, goodbye.
Bye.
They say that separation be a cinder to the soul, but ye are not approached within the length of a barge pole. We're not compatible herein the slightest. I'm afraid my spirit never did and still does not demand thy aid. Ye soul of little worth, farewell with all your feeble charms. Farewell, thou aggravating ways. I hope you buy the farm. Indeed, my heart holds not one speck goodwill for ye within, and yet at night I wonder still on that which might have been.
Here I am on the town hall steps. I've been here so many times in my formative years. Going to the cinemas down George Street, bushwhacker dances, Palm Sunday peace marches, go to bondage parties. What are you doing here?
Me? I'm waiting for a Tinder date.
Me too.
It's like I've been stood up.
Me too.
You don't like Johnny Cash?
Well, I like that 9 Inch Nails song he does. And the Nick Cave one. What about you? Surely you don't like doing the Time War?
Oh yeah, it's my favourite song for line dancing.
Ooh. You know, this is reminding me of the Pina Colada song.
Do you like pina coladas?
Not that one. Anything. No, Clark. Clark, no. I'm sorry. It's got nothing to do with Sydney, mate.
Yeah, no. But, what are we going to sing?
I don't know.
I think I got something. You're Bellevue Hill, I'm Wentworthville. How can we bridge the wide harbour between us? You are St Ives, I am St Mary's, but I think we can make this thing work.
You're Parramatta Road, I'm North Connect. How can we bridge the wide harbour between us? You're Brighton La Sands, I'm Bondi Beach, but I think we can make this thing work.
You are Barangaroo, I'm Rudy Hill, RSL.
How can we bridge the wide harbour between us?
You are the Opera House, I'm Greasby Workers Club, but I think
We can make this thing work. You're steak and kidney, I'm kale and quinoa. How can we bridge the wide harbour between us? You're meat and 3 veg, I'm paleo, but I think we can make this thing work.
But hang on. You're Tony Jones, I'm Alan Jones. How can we bridge the wide harbour between us? You're Clover Moore, I am Mark Latham.
Make this thing work. You're Bullen's Animal World, I am Taronga. How can we bridge the wide harbour between us? You're Manly Fun Pier, I'm Luna Park, but I think we can make this thing work.
You are the Canberra, I am the Shire.
How can we bridge the wide harbour between us?
You are St Ives, I am St Mary's,
But I think we can make this thing work. You're Parramatta, I'm Turramurra. How can we bridge the wide harbour between us? You're Cabramatta, I'm Tamarama, but I think we can make this thing work.
Take a stroll down George Street, you Philistine bastards. Look out at the town hall and you flabbergasted.
How those hooligans transported for sedition or for forging, transform the yellow block into
Something royally Georgian.
yellow gold, the old Hawkesbury sandstone. It's up on the escarpment, forming the lip of the basin, deposited in the Triassic when the creatures were colossal. But what is its lithology? Sedimentary, my dear fossil.
Take a stroll down George Street, you